Improvement. It's what we're all searching for when we're playing a competitive game. Usually you expect to play more and finally rank up, but we all know that that isn't always the case. Being stuck in a specific rank can feel frustrating and ultimately demotivating. If you feel like you're in these shoes or simply want to avoid the ranked wall that many people face altogether, then this is the video for you. What's up guys, my name is Matt and today I will be your guide toward improvement. If you feel like you are struggling to rank up and don't know what you're doing wrong, we have compiled a list that is meant to reveal to you some of the areas where many people struggle to perform well in their competitive matches. As we walk through these areas, try to self-evaluate and truly consider where you might be struggling the most and attempt to improve in that area with the tactics that I'm going to be going over. Anyway, without taking up any more of your time, let's get right into the question of the day. So today's question is an interesting one. Would you like to see the implementation of a defuse kit in the game? Similar to CSGO, a defuse kit would allow the defenders to defuse at a faster rate. Do you think that this implementation would allow for a more in-depth economy system? Or do you think it would provide the defenders with an unwarranted advantage that would ultimately harm the general gameplay altogether? Personally, I think that this would be a pretty interesting concept that could make the game more enjoyable. There's a lot of strategy around the defuse kit in CSGO, but what do you think? Let us know in the comments down below and we'll read as many as we can. Getting right into tip number 1, let's discuss how to improve something that will directly help your gameplay altogether. Aim. Without good aim, it's very hard to win duels and can potentially lead to many lost rounds. Although many people already know this, they usually struggle at improving in this area. Because of this, we have found the best way to improve right in the training range implemented into the game. First off, flicking. Flicking is when you have to quickly react to enemy movement and put your crosshair on their body or head before shooting. In order to improve this, we have two tactics. First off, in the practice range, you can use the implemented feature where the bots quickly show up and disappear in order to get used to your sensitivity and become accustomed to shooting. Second off, if you choose the character Sage and turn on practice mode alongside strafing in the bot menu, you're going to be able to perform some more advanced training. By placing a wall up in the shooting range and waiting until the bots move to the left or right of the wall, you will learn how to react to enemies coming around corners. This is a much more game-like feature that will somewhat get you used to what you will see in-game. Second off, moving forward from flicking, you're going to need to learn the recoil of the game in order to shoot consistently and be able to spray transfer when attempting to kill various enemies. In order to learn the spray quickly, you can repeatedly shoot the target in the shooting range at around 30 meters. Once you manage to control your recoil enough, you should be able to keep it in between the first 2 or 3 circles of the target. Don't focus too much on getting this perfect, however, simply because there is a random component on the bullets that remove the ability to shoot perfectly anyway. Spray transfers, on the other hand, you should focus on mastering much more. For this, you can try to shoot the bots in the sky. After killing one, transfer your recoil to another bot without letting go of your fire button. Don't be discouraged if you can't do this at the start, it takes a good amount of practice to master, but we promise that it's worth it. Once you can do this consistently, you'll gain full control of your weapon and become much more confident when taking duels. Coming in at number 2, we are going to discuss the importance of game sense. Aside from knowing how to aim, learning things like when to push and when to hold back is key if you want to improve. In order to do these things, you will first need to master the minimap and learn how to use the information it gives you to your advantage. One major piece of information that it provides you with is the location of both your enemies and your teammates, which you can use when deciding if you should rotate, push, or hold back. For instance, you are playing defense and are holding site A. Seeing 4 people on the spike on the map pushing site B warrants a rotate. Although ideally your teammates should make this call in order to maximize the speed at which you can come and help them, we know that this doesn't always happen. More often than not, you will encounter players that lack a microphone or simply refuse to speak. Because of this, the minimap will be your best friend. Secondly, in another scenario where you see that your enemies are pushing from A while you're holding B, you might want to hold back in order to give your teammates time to flank. Little things like this separate the good players from the average players. Although these instances may seem fairly situational, the truth of the matter is that the minimap will provide you with information in more rounds than you would expect. Moving on from the importance of the minimap, it will also be crucial to learn the playstyle of your specific character. For instance, some of the more general trips are to push in first if you're an entry fragger like Breach or Phoenix, stay fairly far back if you're a smoke-based character like Brimstone and Omen, and to push in somewhere in between if you are playing any other characters such as Sage or Cypher. Although we won't be able to run through every character individually due to a time constraint, you need to become accustomed to your characters nevertheless. Here are some things that you can do to speed up your progress, however. Firstly, as we have mentioned in the past, you could limit your agents to roughly 3 or 4 in order to master their abilities and know how to play them very well. After you've done this, you can watch various streamers that are highlighted in our other videos in order to analyze their gameplay and truly learn the ins and outs of your character. But hey, if you are struggling with this step, don't hesitate to head over to ProGuides.com, where our pros will provide you with instant coaching in order to better your play with any character. Furthermore, our newly implemented VOD review will give you the opportunity to present our coaches with a pre-recorded video that they will analyze and give back to you without any hassle or waste of time. On the subject of learning your use in-game, let's discuss how you can use this knowledge to better not only yourself, but your team as a whole. For instance, if you are playing a character like Brimstone, you may already know that your key feature on attack is your ability to smoke. Knowing this will allow you to perform the bare minimum smoking when entering the site. However, once you begin to think about your team, you will also realize that you can use your Molotov and Stim Beacon in order to support pushes. For instance, although you're not the one entry fragging, you may be able to cancel out an angle that could be held by an enemy with your Molotov in order to help your entry fragger push in easier. Ultimately, small improvements such as these will directly help you improve your ability usage throughout the game, which, frankly, is one of the most important areas to focus on. In addition to ability usage, you also have to learn how to trust your teammates regarding gunplay. We know that putting this in a self-improvement guide may seem strange, but realistically, from our experience coaching and climbing through the ladder, this is something that many people struggle with. What we mean by trust your teammates more specifically is trust their ability to kill enemies as much as you trust your own. For example, if you're holding an angle, B main on ascent for instance, yet the enemies are pushing 2 separate angles, let's say B main and mid in this case, you should trust your teammate to watch the opposite angle if they're there. In the scenario we have just set up, if one of your teammates is watching mid, you should feel confident in their ability to stop the enemy. You should never take a worse angle at watching B main only because you are anxious about the mid push or don't fully trust your team will have your back. If you do this, you will often end up dead, and it'll only be because of your potential suspicion, which is going to lower your personal effectiveness in the round drastically. So next up, we have a slightly more niche tip for more advanced players, likely past the platinum rank. We only place this tip so high up because we feel like lower elo players can improve much more drastically by focusing on more fundamental portions of the game. At the same time though, if you do feel like you can improve through this at a lower level, feel free to focus on it, since it can't really do you any harm. What we are talking about is team-based combos. By this, we mean combinations of both ultimates and abilities from various agents that will increase the effectiveness of both players. Ultimately, this is why team compositions and metas even exist. As people develop more and more ways to work together with different agents, the meta develops more and more. People slowly become accustomed to these findings. Let's put some examples on the table in order to make this more clear. For instance, starting off with simple ability and ultimate combos. Cypher and Brimstone work very well together. If they play in close proximity on defense, Cypher's tripwire can give Brimstone enough information for him to ult the enemy and confirm 1 or potentially more kills. That could directly alter the way the round plays out. Other examples include Cypher ult and Raze ult, any smoke along Sova's drone, and lastly, Cypher's camera and Sova's ult. The last thing that we have noticed many people could improve on is economy usage. One of the main things that people seem to struggle with in this domain is sacrificing certain buys for others. Let me explain. For instance, if you are struggling and don't have enough money to full buy, many people face the struggle of buying light armor versus heavy armor, an SMG or a rifle, and whether or not to full buy abilities. Let's run through all of these one by one. First off, heavy armor or light armor. You should always buy heavy armor unless it means you can get a better gun. For instance, if the money you save by buying light armor over heavy allows you to buy a Phantom over a Bulldog, then do it. It's always the best way to go. Number 2, rifle over SMG. You know, this one is not too complicated. Rifle always, well, almost always. If you're unable to buy any armor at all due to buying a rifle, then it's not worth it. You want to always get light armor at least when attempting to force and clutch up a round. Number 3, however, isn't so easy. If you're wondering whether or not you should sacrifice an ability in order to buy heavy armor or a better weapon, ask yourself if your ability is crucial to making a push or if it can only help you. Although this can sometimes be hard to do during the short buy period, here is an example. Smokes are always must-buys because they allow pushes, while healing abilities like Phoenix Molotov are not necessarily a necessity. Ultimately, if you are still feeling confused about whether or not buying abilities is a good idea, a good rule to follow is that support and fragger characters often don't have crucial push-based abilities while control characters do. And thus, if you're playing a control character, your preference should be more weighted towards those abilities. Although feeling stuck in a rank can be annoying, we hope that these tips can help you improve much faster and allow you to finally climb to your desired rank. Although we didn't list our tips today in any specific order, feel free to rank the information on your own from what you struggle at most to what you feel you're best at. This will allow you to figure out what you should spend your time focusing on in order to make the most of your practice. Also, don't think that you can only learn one tip at a time. Learning how to improve in multiple areas at once can greatly benefit many players that feel comfortable with taking on several tasks at once. That may not be for everyone, however. If you feel like you would be better focusing on one tip at a time, that path can also be very beneficial. With that said, good luck, stay safe, and I wish you all great games.